Hey everyone, it's Jack from Cultaholic.com. It's Friday. Gotta get down on Friday, and you know what that means. It's my favourite time of the week, and that's because it's Friday, my favourite time. I've got too many catchphrases at the start of this series right now. Getting a little bit confused, but I'm also incredibly excited to talk about a fantastic, phenomenal, massive week of wrestling. There were 3 huge shows all out for AEW, NXT UK TakeOver Cardiff in WWE, and New Japan also had their Royal Quest show in London. So this is going to be really tricky, but hopefully I've narrowed it down to 10 wrestlers, and hopefully you agree with me. And if you don't, of course, just type your little thoughts away in the comment section down below. That'll be fun, won't it? Let's take a look at the honourable mentions. First of all, a non-wrestling honourable mention for Tully Blanchard. What a phenomenal job he did of managing Shawn Spears. Every little mannerism, every little heelish trick that he did, even a couple of bumps that he took as well were absolutely on point. So Tully Blanchard, well done. Also, Mark Andrews and Flash Morgan Webster for winning an excellent, thrilling, captivating sort of 3-team tag team match, a triple threat tag team match for NXT UK TakeOver Cardiff show. It was really, really good stuff, really well put together, but even though they got the big win, I couldn't quite include them on this list just because there were so many components to that match, and they all took a little share in making the match really good, that there wasn't like one big standout performer. Maybe Mark Andrews, but it's difficult to really include him. But the match itself, I was a huge fan of. I thought it was wonderful. Also, I want to give a shout out to some big matches from the Royal Quest show that just couldn't make it onto this list. Okada versus Suzuki in a great main event. One that suffered a little bit, I guess, from having a predictable winner, but it still managed to be pretty compelling. Zack Sabre Jr. and Tanahashi. Tanahashi is now the Rev Pro British Heavyweight Champion. That's very big news, and it was a really good match as well. Cesaro and Dragunov had a good match in Cardiff, but then Cesaro lost on Raw, and it kind of made the whole NXT UK brand look a little bit weak as a result. But I might be reading too much into that. Hangman bloody Page, right. So I guess Hangman was in a really tricky position, because if he'd won, everyone would have said he was out of his depth and he wasn't a main event level champion yet. But, you know, Jericho won, and a lot of people, including myself and Sam, did react immediately by saying, "Ooh, WWE guy is their first champion, that's a bit of a weird one." So it was a difficult one for Hangman, but I think in defeat, he really proved that in just a year or two's time, he's going to be absolutely phenomenal as a main eventer. And I hope that's true, because I am a big fan, and I think he really showed us what he could do in that main event. So he deserves an honourable mention as well. And my final honourable mention is Shawn Spears, because he did really well in the match. You know, it wasn't like the match of the weekend or anything, but it was a really entertaining match, and I loved his gear. His gear was so nice. Did you see that? Like electric blue. Oh, it was bloody gorgeous, it was. Anyway, on to this week's number 10, and it's one half of the Young Bucks, Matt Jackson. Now, Matt was involved in that humongous ladder match at All Out, which Dave Meltzer has said may be the greatest ladder match of all time, 5.25 stars. I disagree. I think there's quite a lot of ladder matches that I prefer to this one, but I still really enjoyed it, and I still thought it was a very entertaining match, possibly the best match of the show. Everyone put in a great effort in this match. Everyone took bumps and did crazy huge spots and everything, but Matt may have taken the most bumps, I think. I'm not too certain about that, but he certainly took quite a few nasty bumps. Not the worst bump, which we'll get onto in just a second, but he took quite a few nasty ones, including being pushed off the ladder, and the ladder collapsed beneath him, and he landed right on his spine. Just right on his spine. He was also a key player in the end game of the match as well. Once Nick Jackson had been taken completely out of things, it was Matt Jackson who had to try and salvage it for his team, unmasking Pentagon, super kicking Phoenix while he was perched on the ladder, and then eventually falling victim to a big double team package pile driver kind of thing on the ladder bridge on the outside. It was a really good performance from Matt Jackson. I always see him as kind of the character guy of the Young Bucks versus the more spotty, I guess, Nick Jackson. The same for the Lucha Brothers as well. I think the Pentagon's more of a character guy and Phoenix is more the flippy one, but at the same time, it doesn't mean that those two more character-based men can't do incredible stuff as well, and Matt proved that in this match. Number 9, Nick Jackson. He's alive, he tweeted it. Nick Jackson is alive, can confirm, because it looked pretty bad for a second or two. When I was saying that Matt Jackson possibly took the most bumps in the match, but he didn't take the worst one, this is what I was referring to. Nick Jackson's terrifying plummet from a ladder through a table on the outside. It was meant to be through 2 tables, but he only went through 1. He might have clipped the other one. This spot was absolutely terrifying. Like, Nick's obviously, if you haven't seen it, Nick's climbing a ladder in the middle of the ring, and when we were watching it, me and Sam were like, ladder looks a bit central there, doesn't it? It looks a bit far away from those ropes that he's hopefully going to fly over. And then he got pushed off the ladder, or the ladder got pushed over, And he was too far away. Or, right, so immediately watching it, I thought that it was just too far away. He clipped his toe on the top rope and just smashed through the table head first at a horrible angle, and then obviously cut his hand entirely open somewhere on the descent. We saw that as well. But instead, Matthew seemed to suggest on the podcast that he was trying to, or Ross, one of the two, seemed to suggest that he was trying to maybe land on the rope with his foot and do a flip off it through the table or something like that to make it look even more sick. But either way, it was a nasty and horrible bump, and thankfully, he is okay. Aside from that, Nick's performance in this match was superb. He did all of the crazy stuff that he does, proving that he is loco, as he often likes to say, and that he does have huevos, even though they were suggesting that the Lucha Brothers had 0 huevos. Oh, no balls, but obviously the Lucha Brothers won the match, so that looked a bit silly in the end. But regardless, a really good performance from both of the Young Bucks. Nick did the slightly crazier and more impressive stuff and took the sicker bump. How intentional that was doesn't really matter, I don't think. He gets an extra point this week. Next up, oh my god, he's been absolutely everywhere, hasn't he? It's been an eventful week for this week's number 8, and it's none other than Y2J himself, the first ever AEW champion, Chris Jericho. Jericho's been dominating the headlines for a variety of reasons. Let's just go through them. Not just the match, not just becoming the first ever AEW World Champion, but also spawning the newest meme in the wrestling world online, a little bit of the bubbly, of course, and also for losing, or having stolen, I guess, having it stolen from him, the AEW physical belt itself, which has now thankfully been returned. Details are murky, it could have been stolen, it could have been misplaced. We don't know. We just don't know at this stage. But regardless, I thought Jericho's performance in that main event was really good. Hangman is obviously the younger and more athletic guy, and at some stages you could argue kind of, I guess, carried the lion's share of the workload in that match, but not as much as you might expect. Jericho was still keeping up with him despite approaching 50 years old now, and obviously had the edge in terms of experience, storytelling, getting the crowd invested in what was going on in the ring. And of course, he ended up picking up a monumental victory, and in the immediate aftermath, I have to concede that I was I had the wind taken out of my sails a little bit, which I guess is what a good heel victory is meant to do, but I was like, ooh, should Jericho be the first ever champion? But since, seeing his antics in the aftermath and everything, I can't really argue with them making Jericho the first ever champion. He has been supremely entertaining, whether by accident or deliberately, and also I think it'll be even more monumental when someone finally takes that title from him, whether it be Hangman Page or another babyface. Next up, number 7, the man who defeated Shawn Spears, and I maybe disagree a tiny bit with that result, but at the same time, it wasn't like a horrible booking decision or anything. It was just a curious one that I didn't understand. But anyway, number 7 this week is the man himself, Cody Rhodes. Just Cody. Like he did at Double or Nothing and like he did at All In as well, this was another centerpiece, big storytelling, old school match from Cody. It was another wonderful example of what he can do and how he can craft a story in the ring with his opponent. And also in the build-up and everything too, that played a crucial part. It wasn't as good as the match against Dustin Rhodes at Double or Nothing, but then again, what is? Spears played his role marvelously as the despicable heel. I did love his gear though. I did love that electric blade. It was so nice. But Cody's babyface fire is something else. It's on another level. And when Spears was whipping him with the belt and Cody was fired up, that's just basic like Hulk Hogan stuff, but he does it so well. I should say Dusty Rhodes stuff. That makes a lot more sense actually. This match also incorporated all the bells and whistles, and even though Cody was just one part of that, I do feel like he was the middle, the sort of centerpiece that everything else revolved around. There was the whole Arn Anderson getting involved, the spinebuster Shawn Spears, everything Tully Blanchard did was great. Shawn Spears was great himself, and there were the little interactions or the little dynamics playing off with each other between Cody and MJF, and everyone was like, MJF's going to turn, he's definitely going to turn. And then he didn't turn. And Cody's done such a good job of really embracing the dramatic irony in that all the audience knows that his best friend's going to turn on him, but he doesn't know it yet. And that's really what's driving this story forwards. As I say, I disagree slightly with the decision to have Cody win. I think maybe Shawn Spears should have won, continuing his big heel run, and it was just a bit of a mini storyline in the end, if that's the end of it. But at the same time, Cody's got a big storyline going forwards, and it was another big win for him. Speaking of big wins, number 6 this week is a man from our hometown here at Cultaholic of Newcastle upon Tyne. It's Pac. Wait, one second. Can I just have a go, please? Just a brief go at people like Meltzer and Alvarez who are mocking the fact that they're supposed to call him Pac. They're like, I guess he's called Pac now. We were calling him Pac. Shut up, mate. That's how you say it in Newcastle. It's how you say it in England. Pac. X-Pac is how we, say X-Pac over here on these shows. Just shut up right now before I set Geordie Nev on you, and you'll feel right stupid then. I do a really bad job when I try and seem threatening. This match that Pac had with Kenny Omega, he should be an honorable mention as well. This match was one of my favorite ones of the night. It was really good. It was just two absolute maestros, two absolute experts, elite level wrestlers, no pun intended, going at it in the middle of the ring, trying to outfox each other and then progressing to bigger and more dangerous and more powerful moves. And in the end, it was Pac who won strangely abruptly. Some people are suggesting maybe they had to cut some stuff short for time. Some people were suggesting that maybe they're holding back for a rematch somewhere in the future. But whatever it was, the match was still a really good one, and maybe even have been enhanced by the abruptness of the ending rather than suffering from it. Obviously, Pac caught Omega in that submission hold and just choked him unconscious. Just won as clean as a whistle, clean as you like, just casually knocking off one of the biggest stars in the company and then rolling out of town, back to Newcastle. No, he actually also confronted Hangman Page backstage, didn't he? That's a match that I'm looking forward to because we never got to see it in Las Vegas. Number 5, and still the All Japan Pro Wrestling Triple Crown Champion, Kento Miyahara. Yes, even in this monumental week of wrestling where we had All Out, we had TakeOver Cardiff, we had the New Japan show in London as well, Kento Miyahara continues to stand out as one of the best wrestlers in the world today and the figurehead and the ace of All Japan Pro Wrestling. Kento successfully defended his title again. I think it's his 7th successful reign against Naoya Nomura at the All Japan Summer Explosion Series, or one of the nights of the Summer Explosion Series, and it was standard Kento Miyahara fare. That makes it sound boring, but if you've watched a Kento Miyahara main event title match, you'll know that it's not boring at all. Miyahara is so consistent at defending this title in big, high-stakes, quality matches, and maybe one of the best world champions in the world right now, if not the best. I might put him level or slightly below Kazuchika Okada in that respect. He's just phenomenal, and it wasn't just the moves in this match that were great. The match, for what it's worth, was a nice blend of, I guess, high-paced action, but also being extended into an epic length, a fittingly long main event style match. But the match also benefited from a lot of history and storytelling behind it. Not only did we have the story that Miyahara had already beaten Nomura in the past and didn't take him as seriously as this match, which was way more intense, we also had the recent storyline of Nomura pinning Miyahara in 2 tag matches in the build-up to this show. But ultimately, it wasn't enough to beat Kento, and I think that's a wise decision. I mean, I don't know enough about All Japan's roster or the shifts and the movements in it to know who's going to finally take that title from him, but whenever they do, they are going to get a major boost because of it, because he is the ace, he is the best. He also adapts his game really well, whether he's facing a babyface like Nomura or a heel. He can be either the pure good guy, or he can get a little bit cocky and devious, and that's really good to have such a flexible man at the top of the company. Before we move on, I also should give an honourable mention to Nomura as well for his part in the match. I feel like if I just read out every single honourable mention that I wanted to do at the start of this video, the intro would have been way too long. Next up, number 4, another competitor in that awesome ladder match. It's Pentagon Jr., Penta El Zero Miedo, it's Penta, it's bloody Penta. There he is. No, he's not. This match felt really bad-tempered in a good way, and I've mentioned already how Matt Jackson and Penta are the character-based guys of their respective tag teams, or slightly more character-based guys, and I think Pentagon did a really good job of infusing this match with kind of a bad-tempered, heated rivalry kind of energy. That's not to say that Phoenix didn't do that as well, but Phoenix often spends so much time doing crazy, impressive, high, flippy, springboardy spots that it's often down to Penta to ground things again and remind us all that these two tag teams really hate each other, and he did a great job of that, as did Matt Jackson, obviously unmasking him when it looked like Penta was going to win, and just generally Pentagon was always taunting his opponents, challenging the other member of the tag team to hurt the other one and everything. There was all that nice interplay and storytelling throughout the match, and for his part as well, obviously dished out some horrible damage on those bloody Young Bucks. Now you may be asking, why has Pentagon gone so far ahead of the Young Bucks when they were in the same match? Well, the Lucha Brothers also had a really good match in AEW against LAX, or the Boricuas, I guess, Santana and Ortiz, who obviously debuted in AEW straight after this ladder match. Next up, number 3, Penta's tag team partner and brother, and for my money, maybe the best man off a springboard in the entire world of wrestling right now, the best springboard wrestler in all of wrestling today, Phoenix. So in Las Vegas, which obviously is where I saw this match live for the first time, not the ladder match, just the straight up tag team match between the two teams, I remember thinking Phoenix is like my MVP of this match. He always seems to impress the most in such a chaotic and highly competitive atmosphere. It always seems to be Phoenix who rises to the top, Phoenix rising from the flame. It always seems to be Phoenix who does the best. I've already mentioned his insane springboards and everything, but everything he does is just so risky yet so flawless. He is really the archetypal sort of luchador that you want in these sort of matches, the combination of flippy luchador antics and more Western-based, hard-hitting stuff. You need that kind of balance, and you need that kind of... He's got like a twin mastery of flipping and weapons, if that makes sense, if that makes any sense at all. So yeah, Phoenix is my MVP of these matches, and again, just on the point of the Lucha Brothers finishing so much higher than the Young Bucks this week, despite being in the same match, there's also the crucial point that they won the match, defending their AAA tag team titles and refusing to allow the Young Bucks to take them back, keep them in the States and send, the Lucha Brothers back below the border without any gold. I really like that aspect of the match, which I think went overlooked amongst all of the spots and the hatred between the two teams. There was gold on the line, and it was the Lucha Brothers who retained that gold. Next up, number 2, let's go over to bloody Wales to see the main event of NXT TakeOver Cardiff, NXT UK TakeOver Cardiff, and the man who is still the WWE United Kingdom champion is Walter. Walter's awesome, and the reason that he's awesome was really spelled out nicely this week by Matthew, who said that Walter's a big guy, obviously, who wrestles like a big guy should. And I don't want to disparage the styles of these other wrestlers, because I'm a big fan of all of them, but you look at guys at the moment, big guys like Jeff Cobb, Keith Lee, Dijakovic, who all do the big power stuff, but also like to incorporate flips and shows of incredible agility, which they shouldn't really be able to do at their size. And it's really impressive and it's really cool, but Walter holds back on that, and it's really cool to see him just decimate somebody, especially an opponent as small as Tyler Bate, with huge hits, huge chops, big throws, big slams, and then he does that one big splash off the top rope, and it feels like an earthquake. He's got his act absolutely down perfectly, and he's probably going to be remembered as one of the best big men in wrestling ever. But is that too ridiculous a claim to say? With that said, I think this is the best Walter match I've ever seen, and I've seen some really good Walter matches, both live and also just, on a screen. And I think this may have been the best one of all. I saw this exact match at Wembley last year when it was Walter versus Bate in the Progress main event, and that was a really, really good match. But I think this one may have just pipped it. It was about 40 minutes long, and it felt about 20. The amount of entertainment they really packed into this match was truly something else. And of course, Walter picked up the huge victory, retaining that championship and making just about everybody wonder who on earth is going to take the title from this guy. It's going to be Dragunov. It's going to be, watch that, it's going to be Dragunov. But number 1, and my wrestler of the week this week in a very, very competitive week. No sneaky Roderick Strong heel tactics from this man. It's Tyler Bate. When I came into the office today, Adam Pacitti said to me, "Jack, who is wrestler of the week?" And I said, Tyler Bate, and Adam went, "Even in defeat?" And then we both laughed because we're taking wrestling far too seriously. But the point is that, you don't need to necessarily win the match to get more points on wrestlers of the week if the storyline is fantastic and if the performance is good enough. And in both those cases, Tyler Bate ticked the box. He was such a phenomenal babyface in this match, man. He was selling so well at the right times that when he fired up and gave Walter a big slam or a big combination of punches, it was so good. It was so good, and the crowd were white hot behind him. It was absolutely unreal. Just classic storytelling. Smaller, undersized, underdog babyface, huge, massive monster heel. But it also helps when they're two of the best wrestlers in the world. And I wasn't even too disappointed. I don't necessarily disagree with Walter keeping the title. I mean, I'm really still invested in the storyline of the big monster heel holding the belt and turning back all comers. But while I was watching the match happen, I also was thinking it would be nice if Tyler won this. And that's exactly the emotion you want to elicit from a jaded, cynical bastard like me. No, that's exactly the sort of emotion you want to elicit from people who are used to watching wrestling and think they know the conventions of it. But ultimately, of course, Tyler didn't win, and then there were those emotional scenes afterwards where Trent Seven and Pete Dunne got in the ring, helped him up to his feet, and everybody just gave him a standing ovation. And that's exactly what you want in defeat as a babyface. I mean, he probably wished that he'd won the belt back, but, that doesn't matter too much. You gave your best shot, and you've got 10 bloody points on wrestlers of the week. Bloody hell. Now, before I leave you, let's take a look at that league table. Lots of changes going on in the top 25. Kento Miyahara and Walter have both jumped up level with Johnny Gargano. It's a 3-way tie for 5th. A little bit further down, Pac has jumped up level with Kofi Kingston and Ricochet. It's a 3-way tie for 9th. If we go down a little bit further, Phoenix has jumped up level with David Starr and Jon Moxley. It's a 3-way tie for bloody 14th. I can't calm down. And Pentagon has jumped up level with Velveteen Dream. It's a 2-way tie for 22nd place. Thanks very much for watching, and let us know what you think in the comments section down below. You can follow Cultaholic on Twitter at Cultaholic and on Facebook at facebook.com/Cultaholic. If you enjoy what we do, then please do check out our Patreon, patreon.com/Cultaholic, where you can pledge. And don't forget, of course, most importantly of all, to hit subscribe and to join us.